Have you ever had that feeling like maybe you should call somebody, check in on them to see how they're doing? I bet you have. I think most of us have. That's what this video is about. Kind of how I reacted to that feeling in my life a few times. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to A Deacon's Life. My name is Deacon MacLeod. And before we get going, if you haven't yet, please subscribe below, hit the like button, see how many people we can get following this channel. So today's video is about whenever you've had that feeling about maybe you should check in on somebody, give them a phone call, maybe say a kind word. How did you react to that? Well, I'm going to give two examples today of how I reacted when I had that feeling. One of them was I had this feeling like I should pick up the phone and check in on somebody. This individual was sick, had cancer, and that feeling came to me, and I thought, okay, I'm going to call this person, but not right now, I'm a little busy. I'll do it later. And I never got around to it. And it was like 2 days later, the individual passed away. I felt so horrible for not following the Holy Spirit's guidance and just making that phone call. And I say the Holy Spirit's guidance because I truly believe it was the Holy Spirit saying, hey, call this person. But I didn't. I said, I'm a little busy right now, I'll do it later. And I regret that. Now this was years ago, and I told myself I'll never do it again. Now I wish I could say that I've never done it again, but it's few and far between when I get that feeling of I should do something. But here's an example of when I actually listened and followed the Holy Spirit's guidance. And I was at work. So I'm at a customer's office and I'm just saying hello to people, how are you doing? And I came across this cube of an individual who I'd maybe met once before. And she was sitting there and I just said, hi, how are you? This is who I am. Just introduced myself. No, not Deacon MacLeod, because didn't have the collar on. You know, I was in my secular job, how I pay my bills, you know. And I just said, how are you? And she goes, oh, fine. You know that thing we always say. I'm fine, doing good. Well, something kind of stopped me as I turned from her and said, ask again. So I thought, oh, okay. So I turned around, I looked at her, called her by her name and said, how are you really doing? And that's when things kind of changed. Her demeanor, how she looked at me, she kind of looked down a little bit and then looked back up and said, listen, are you a deacon? Well, I wasn't expecting that because I don't run around my customers' offices saying I'm a deacon. Some people know I am, some people don't. If it comes up, it comes up, right? Well, I kind of looked at her, I thought, well, yes, I am. Why do you ask? And that's when she shared with me something very personal. She goes, my relative committed suicide like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever it was. And she said she's really mad at the church. And I said, why is that? And she said, well, I was told by someone at the church that because my relative committed suicide, they went to hell. And you could see as she was talking, the tears were going down her eyes. She was holding it back. You could see the anger in her face as well. I just looked at her, grabbed a chair, sat down. I looked at her and said, I am so sorry that someone said that to you, because that's not what the church teaches or believes. When I said that, she looked up and just like, what? What do you mean? You know, I've heard this before, people in passing or people said they had conversations about this, but this is the first time someone just came out and just said how they were feeling about it, how mad they were at the church about it. And I was like, well, Holy Spirit, you need to guide this conversation because I don't want to mess this up, right? So I explained to her, I said, the church says that life is precious from the moment of conception till natural death. That's the church teaching. And I said, yes, committing suicide is a sin, right? You're taking your own life, it's murder, thus breaking one of the commandments. But the church doesn't say they're going to hell. What the church says is we don't know the state of mind of that individual when that happened. Psychologically, where were they? What was going on? Is it possible that at that very moment as they were dying, they regretted what they did, that they asked for forgiveness, that they wished they wouldn't have done this? And it's possible that they weren't even aware of kind of what they were doing either. We just don't know. The church is not going to make that call on that either. We're going to hope and pray that God was there and at that last second repented. That last second, God welcomed them. You see, as I was saying this, and hopefully I said it a lot better than what I just did, but as I was saying this, you could see it's almost like this weight came off her shoulders. And the tears that were kind of slowly coming down started to just turn into sobs. And she looked at me and said, I'm so glad I asked you or brought this up to you. I had no idea what you're going to say. She said she felt so much better now. And how often do we hear things from people that say what the church says about certain situations, what the church teaches, but we get that information from someone that's not with the church, or someone that's angry with the church and doesn't truly know the teachings of the church. I was one of them. When I was mad at God and I left the church, man, I used to take pot shots at the church all the time about their teachings, or what I thought was their teachings, because I heard it from somebody else who heard it from somebody else, but it wasn't the truth. You know, Archbishop Fulton Sheen has this quote. I'm going to read it here. There are not 100 people in the United States who hate the Catholic Church, but there are millions who hate what they wrongly perceive the Catholic Church to be. I was one of those millions who perceived what the Catholic Church taught, but I never went to the source of what the church teaches. And you can too. If you have questions about the faith, what do we believe? Go to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. But you have questions about our faith? Right here. Yeah, it looks thick, but in the back you just look up what your question is, what you're thinking, what you want to know more about, and it's right there. And if you come across some things you just don't understand, because I've done that too, words that you've never heard before that you're reading, go to the source. Talk to a deacon. Talk to a priest. Get answers from the source, right? Don't you hear that a lot? If you have questions, go to the source. If you have that feeling, like maybe I should stop and say something to somebody, I urge you to do it. You could change someone's life, their perspective on life, even just a smile. Get someone in a good mood. Don't do what I did when I felt that call to call somebody and I didn't, and I regret it to this day. If you feel something moving inside you, do something, say that kind word, make that phone call. I urge you to do it. Till next time, keep praying and keep serving. God bless you.